I was a parent in a hospital once, for a few weeks.
Yeah, your daughter was in the hospital.
Yeah, Lily Rose was a kid. She was 7.
Johnny Depp had it all. The movies, the fame, the global obsession. He was the face of blockbusters like Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward Scissorhands, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Donnie Brasco. He owned properties that looked more like kingdoms than homes, places built to hold the legend he was becoming. But then everything shifted. Public breakups, exhausting court battles, and years of having his personal life turned into entertainment left scars that never really faded. The man who once lived at the center of the world now lives a life that barely resembles the one he had decades ago. Today, the Johnny Depp so many people adored lives one of the quietest, loneliest lives imaginable. And now, at 62, he finally reveals why he chooses to live completely alone. The truth behind Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. How a love story turned into the storm that changed his life. Johnny Depp had built his entire legacy on the magic he brought to the screen, the strange brilliance, the offbeat charm, and the characters nobody else could pull off. But starting in 2016, everything in his world began to tilt, and it all traced back to the relationship that was supposed to be his fresh start. His marriage to Amber Heard didn't just collapse, it detonated. Careers, reputations, friendships, peace of mind, nothing came out untouched. And slowly, that chaos pushed him into the quiet, isolated life he now chooses at 62. But before everything spiraled publicly, this story started like so many Hollywood love stories do. Quietly, unexpectedly, and with a spark that turned into something neither one of them could shake. Johnny first crossed paths with Amber while filming The Rum Diary back in 2011. On set, their connection wasn't loud or dramatic. It was one of those slow-burn attractions that sneaks up on you. They bonded over books, music, art, and strange little corners of creativity most people don't even know exist. And underneath the surface, there was this unspoken pull, the kind that feels wrong at first, yet impossible to ignore. He was still with Vanessa Paradis, the woman he had spent 14 years with. And Amber was dating photographer Tasia Van Ree. Everything about the timing felt forbidden, but the chemistry was still there, simmering quietly between takes. Years passed, and once the movie was done, life pulled them in different directions. But that connection didn't fade. It followed him around until it finally pulled them back together during the press tour for The Rum Diary. That's when things shifted for real. They found each other again, and this time, neither one stepped back. The red carpets began, the photos started, and suddenly, what began as a spark on a movie set had turned into a full-blown relationship everyone could see. When Johnny and Vanessa officially ended things in 2012, the world watched the transition happen in real time. By 2013, he and Amber weren't hiding anything anymore. They were holding hands at concerts, showing up together at events, and blending their worlds. By 2014, the engagement rumors hit, and within days, it was confirmed. Johnny had asked her to marry him in a quiet moment in London. Their engagement was celebrated like a scene out of an old Hollywood film. The guest list was star-studded, the setting glamorous, and yet even in the middle of all that glitter, something felt off. Amber had a moment where she questioned everything: the pace, the spotlight, and the sudden shift in her life. But the train didn't stop. The wedding plans marched on. By February 2015, they were married. First with a small ceremony at Johnny's Los Angeles home, then with a more extravagant celebration on his private island in the Bahamas. Guests lounged on beaches, snorkeled in the sun, and toasted to what looked like a fairy tale union. It all felt dreamy, effortless, and picture-perfect. And for a little while, they managed to hold on to that calm. But cracks started showing faster than anyone expected. Amber was charged in Australia for illegally bringing in their 2 dogs, Pistol and Boo, without declaring them. It turned into an international headline, and both of them had to film a stiff apology video for the Australian court. It looked uncomfortable, forced, a tiny preview of how strained things were behind the scenes. By late 2015, the fairy tale exterior had slipped. Amber hinted that the marriage was strange and difficult, even though she tried to keep up appearances. She spoke warmly about his children and her new role in their lives, describing it as something unexpectedly meaningful. She seemed both overwhelmed and grateful, caught between the chaos of their relationship and the softer moments that made her stay. Johnny, on the other hand, kept praising her publicly, her talent, her intelligence, and the interests they shared. Music, books, blues records, and all the little things that initially drew them together still seemed to hold meaning for him. But underneath those compliments, their relationship was already shaking. By early 2016, they were on completely different wavelengths. One moment, they were glowing on red carpets, exchanging kisses in front of flashing cameras. The next, friends close to them whispered about constant tension and arguments behind closed doors. Their wedding bliss had evaporated into something messy, unpredictable, and heavy. And then came May 2016. Amber filed for divorce. What followed wasn't just a breakup. It was the beginning of one of the most publicly dissected Hollywood battles of the decade. Allegations, counter-allegations, photos, recordings, statements. Everything exploded into the public eye, and Johnny's entire world shifted overnight. Movie roles vanished. Public opinion fractured. Every mistake he had ever made was dragged into the limelight. Every rumor turned into entertainment for the world to consume. But to understand how Johnny found himself at the center of that storm, and why the world was so fascinated by his downfall, you have to go back farther. Back to the boy who first learned that life could be unfair, chaotic, and impossible to predict. The rise of Johnny Depp, from broken childhood to Hollywood's most complicated legend. Johnny Depp's story doesn't begin with the fame, the money, or the wild characters everyone now associates with his name. It starts in Owensboro, Kentucky, with a quiet boy who never quite fit anywhere. Johnny was the youngest in a family that moved so often he never had the chance to breathe before being uprooted again. By the time the Depps finally settled in Miramar, Florida, the damage was already showing. He hated the place, and hated the chaos at home even more. And at just 12, he was already smoking, experimenting with substances, and carving out pain the only way he knew how. The breaking point came at 15 when his parents split. Johnny suddenly had to face adulthood before he was ready, picking up child support checks from the father he no longer understood. The fracture between them never healed. By 16, school no longer felt like his world, so he walked away and threw himself into music. His band, The Kids, had grit, talent, and enough raw energy to open for big names. But they were broke. Johnny spent nights sleeping in the back of a friend's beat-up Chevy Impala, chasing the kind of dream that kept slipping through his fingers. Then life pivoted. At 20, he married Lori Allison and moved to Los Angeles, still clinging to music. They were so broke, they sold pens over the phone just to stay afloat. But everything changed when Lori introduced him to Nicolas Cage, who nudged him toward acting. That simple moment cracked open an entirely new path. Small roles trickled in, then came Nightmare on Elm Street. And suddenly, Hollywood was aware of him. The band fell apart. His young marriage did too, and Johnny threw himself deeper into acting. He trained seriously, chasing complexity and depth. That hunger paid off when 21 Jump Street catapulted him into teen idol territory, a title he loathed. The fame felt empty, packaged, and cheap, and he pushed against it until his contract finally ended. Freedom came in 1990, and with it, the roles that would build the myth of Johnny Depp. Crybaby cracked open his image, and Edward Scissorhands sealed his legacy. Working with Tim Burton changed everything. It gave him room to experiment, to lean into the darker, stranger corners of storytelling. Hollywood suddenly saw him not as a pretty face, but as someone who could disappear into any world. His personal life during this era was just as intense. He fell hard, fast, and dramatically. Relationships came with fire: Winona Ryder, Sherilyn Fenn, Jennifer Grey, and beautiful, chaotic love stories that rarely survived Hollywood's pressure. His world got even wilder when he started dating Kate Moss. Their relationship dominated tabloids, especially after one of their explosive fights left a New York hotel room in pieces. Even so, the chaos never slowed his career. He kept stacking roles that pushed boundaries. Benny and June, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Ed Wood, and Donnie Brasco, each one deepened the legend. And when the world thought it already knew his full range, he stepped into the skin of Hunter S. Thompson, forming a real-life friendship that stayed with him until Thompson's final days. Then came the era that cemented him as a global phenomenon: Captain Jack Sparrow. When Pirates of the Caribbean hit theaters in 2003, Hollywood had never seen anything like it. Johnny turned a theme park ride into a billion-dollar empire. Overnight, kids wanted to dress like Jack, adults wanted to drink like Jack, and Disney wanted to build an entire universe around him. The sequels dominated box offices, and for a moment, it looked like Johnny Depp was untouchable. But he never let himself stay in one lane. He slipped from one world into another, the delicate magic of Finding Neverland, the twisted charm of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the delicious darkness of Sweeney Todd, and the surreal madness of Alice in Wonderland. Not every project hit, but Johnny kept moving, kept experimenting, and kept trying to outrun the version of himself the world tried to freeze in place. By the time the 2010s rolled in, his career had become a mix of massive wins and painful misses. The Lone Ranger flopped brutally, and some of his later characters didn't land the way they used to. Still, he kept working. Black Mass, Murder on the Orient Express, and Fantastic Beasts. He was still a star, still a force, even when the buzz around him shifted. But the truth is this: the glory, the movies, the transformations, none of it ever erased the old wounds. The boy who never felt at home, the man who lived through explosive love, loss, pressure, and public dissection, that boy never disappeared. And eventually, the world would see how much he had been carrying. Because beneath every blockbuster and every eccentric character, Johnny Depp was someone quietly trying to survive himself. And as life moved forward, it became clear that the battles off-screen were the ones that would shape him the most. Inside the chaos, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, and the marriage that exploded on the world stage. The drama between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp began unraveling on May 23, 2016, when Heard filed for divorce after just 15 months of marriage. She cited irreconcilable differences, but anyone watching knew this was about to spiral far beyond a standard split. Depp's team tried to keep things calm, insisting he wouldn't engage with the growing public storm, especially with the recent loss of his mother. For a brief moment, there was hope on his side that the divorce would pass quietly, cleanly, without more fallout. That hope didn't last long. Less than a week later, Heard returned to court seeking a domestic restraining order. She claimed the marriage had become dangerous, describing Depp as spiraling, obsessed with accusations she insisted were baseless, and prone to losing control. She recounted an incident in which he allegedly hurled a cell phone at her face, leaving bruises. She described trying to stand as her hair was yanked backward, a struggle loud enough for her friend on the phone to warn her to leave. Another confrontation, she said, had occurred weeks earlier around her birthday, with Depp towering over her during a heated argument. In her narrative, his volatility stemmed from old wounds, alcohol, drugs, and a short fuse, creating a cycle of fear and tension that she had endured far longer than the public realized. Depp's camp fired back immediately, calling the accusations tactical and accusing Heard of trying to leverage abuse claims to speed up the divorce and gain financially. Still, the temporary restraining order was approved on May 27, 2016. Shortly after, comedian Doug Stanhope accused Heard of manipulation and blackmail, prompting her to sue him for defamation. In her filings, she described leaving the marriage multiple times before officially filing, returning each time with hope that Depp might change. Every return, she said, ended in the same cycle of substance-fueled volatility. By July, Depp had changed a tattoo of her rumored nickname Slim to Scum, a subtle signal of the bitterness lingering beneath the surface. In August 2016, a day before a scheduled restraining order hearing, the couple reached a $7 million settlement. Their joint statement painted their relationship as intense and stormy, but never ill-intentioned, insisting neither had lied for money. Heard announced she would donate her share to charity. The domestic violence case was dismissed. The restraining order dissolved. For a brief moment, it seemed like closure, but a quiet frost had settled, leaving both of them living in the shadows of a marriage that had gone from glamorous to catastrophic in less than 2 years. Months later, Heard wrote an op-ed for Porter magazine about the challenges women face when speaking out about abuse. She did not name Depp, but described the shame, hostility, and immediate suspicion women endure. She rejected the term victim, insisting it didn't align with her identity. Their divorce was finalized the following year. Depp, bound by a non-disclosure agreement, could not speak publicly, but later hinted in a 2018 Rolling Stone profile at the devastation he felt, describing a darkness he had never known and the crushing weight of false accusations. That same year, the tattoo changed again, from scum to scam, signaling a final break with the past. The next chapter began in December 2018, when Heard wrote a Washington Post op-ed about being a public figure representing domestic abuse. Though she did not name Depp, the implications were clear. By March 2019, Depp filed a $50 million defamation lawsuit, claiming the op-ed had ruined his reputation, cost him roles, and derailed his life. His team argued the abuse narrative was fabricated to bolster Heard's career. Heard's camp framed the lawsuit as an attempt to intimidate her, insisting she was telling the truth, and that Depp refused to take responsibility for his actions. The conflict crossed the Atlantic. Depp sued The Sun in the UK over a wife-beater headline, turning that trial into a global spectacle. Both sides accused each other of violence, exposing graphic allegations and intimate moments of their marriage. Ultimately, the judge ruled The Sun's article substantially true, giving Heard a legal victory there. Meanwhile, Heard filed a $100 million countersuit in the U.S., claiming Depp and his team orchestrated a smear campaign. Despite losing in the UK, Depp's US defamation case moved forward, setting the stage for one of the most watched trials in modern pop culture. By April 2022, the Fairfax, Virginia courtroom became the world's stage. Heard stepped back from social media, expressing hope the trial would allow both to move on. From the first day, the trial was brutal. Heard's lawyers accused Depp of sexual violence, portraying the marriage as a place of fear and trauma. Depp's team countered that these were new allegations, absent in earlier disputes. Depp testified first, denying ever hitting Heard. He described a relationship that started with warmth and passion, but deteriorated into shouting matches, suspicion, and emotional landmines. His team presented audio recordings where Heard admitted starting fights, and security personnel testified about alleged incidents of her hitting him. Depp recounted losing a finger during an argument in which he claimed she had thrown a vodka bottle. Heard's testimony painted the marriage as a pressure cooker of jealousy, rage, and fear. She described moments where small disagreements escalated into physical confrontations and said she often felt trapped, fearing for her survival. Each side insisted the other was lying, dangerous, and manipulative. Witnesses, psychologists, friends, and security teams were drawn into the courtroom, exposing the couple's private conflicts under public scrutiny. The verdict came on June 1, 2022. The jury ruled that Heard had defamed Depp in her op-ed. Depp won more than $10 million in damages, limited by legal caps. Heard won a smaller $2 million claim tied to a comment made by Depp's lawyer, but the overall outcome heavily favored Depp. Heard expressed heartbreak, calling the verdict a setback for women who speak out about abuse, while Depp released a statement calling it the moment he reclaimed his life. The story didn't end there. A Tubi movie dramatized the trial. Depp appealed the $2 million verdict. Heard appealed the $10 million one. Unexpectedly, Heard later settled the case entirely, emphasizing that she was not conceding or admitting anything, simply wanting to escape the public storm. Depp's team stated the settlement was a 7-figure amount, all to be donated to charity, reinforcing that the fight had never been about money. A year later, both appeared to build new lives. Depp returned to acting with a role as King Louis XV in the French film Jean du Barry, reclaiming his career and cautiously stepping back into the public eye. Heard moved to Spain with her daughter, choosing distance over Hollywood chaos. Those close to her said she was finding peace, focusing on motherhood and reclaiming the parts of her life untouched by courtrooms and headlines. Even Europe couldn't shield Heard's story from public scrutiny. When Jean du Barry premiered at Cannes, fans and critics reignited debates, questioning whether Hollywood was welcoming Depp back, while disregarding the trial's allegations. Social media flared with outrage and support for both parties, reflecting the lasting cultural impact of their conflict. Through it all, the world had witnessed every corner of their marriage, every accusation, denial, and bruise, physical or emotional. What began as a whirlwind romance became one of the most public, painful unravelings in modern celebrity history. Their story did more than end a marriage. It exposed the fragility of public narratives, the power of perception, and the way truth can be consumed by conflict. Today, both live far from that battlefield, slowly trying to rebuild their lives a day at a time. Johnny Depp's comeback. Life after Amber Heard. 3 years after the storm of his defamation trial with Amber Heard, Johnny Depp has stepped back into the world on his own terms. On April 15th, he arrived at the Curzon Mayfair Theatre in London to promote Jean du Barry, his first major film since 2020. Fans crowded the red carpet as Depp moved through them, a slimmer frame, fresh haircut, and confident presence drawing attention. Autographs were signed, selfies taken, and for a moment, the headlines felt distant. London has become home, a city where he feels grounded and focused. Since filming Jeanne du Barry, where he portrayed King Louis XV, he has kept busy with music, touring with his band, the Hollywood Vampires, and performing with late friend Jeff Beck. Cannes greeted him with a 7-minute standing ovation, and alongside that, he stepped behind the camera to direct Maudit, a film about Amedeo Modigliani, marking his first directorial work since 1997. Balancing multiple projects, Depp has found rhythm and purpose. The period between 2018 and 2020 had been quieter, with Depp appearing in smaller films and limited releases. That time allowed him to regroup, reconnect with his priorities, and focus on the work that truly mattered. Family has become central. Lily Rose and Jack, now in their 20s, share a strong bond with their father, untouched by the public drama. He has remained close, a constant presence in their lives, showing that beneath the public chaos, his role as a father is unwavering. Romance is off the table for now. After the intensity of his marriage to Amber Heard, Depp is deliberate, cautious, and unwilling to repeat past mistakes. His energy goes into projects and family, not headlines. Work drives him forward. Acting, music, and directing fill his days, giving structure and purpose. The public scrutiny of the past has faded, replaced by standing ovations, creative milestones, and private moments with his children. Every project is a step into control over his own story, reclaiming what was once overshadowed by controversy. Johnny Depp has emerged from the trial and divorce not with a dramatic reinvention, but a steady, focused continuation of the life he has always built. Creativity, family, and independence guide him now. He is working, performing, and living with purpose, showing the world that even after chaos, life can be rebuilt and redefined on one's own terms. At 62, Johnny Depp confesses why he lives all alone. Johnny Depp stepped away from Hollywood like a man leaving a storm behind. 5 years of public scrutiny, courtrooms, and headlines had worn him down, and the endless spotlight of fame had lost its appeal. Now, at 62, he has carved out a quiet life in the Sussex countryside, far from cameras, gossip, and the relentless judgment that followed his legal battle with ex-wife Amber Heard. He rents a sprawling 19th-century mansion hidden behind towering trees and ornate gates, its Gothic statues keeping the world at bay. 10 bedrooms, a sunken garden, an open-air amphitheater, water features, and 2 staff cottages provide space for solitude, reflection, and life on his own terms. The estate isn't just a home, it's a retreat, a fortress of calm after years of chaos. Sussex offers more than architecture and gardens. It offers privacy, peace, and the ability to breathe. The landscape, dotted with rolling hills and quiet roads, provides a rhythm for living slowly, intentionally, and deliberately. Choosing this secluded corner over the more crowded celebrity enclaves of the Cotswolds was a statement in itself, a refusal to exist in a fishbowl, and a rejection of a world that once scrutinized every move he made. The move came after years of upheaval. Between 2018 and 2020, Depp's career had slowed. Low-budget films with limited releases replaced blockbuster roles. The defamation trial against Amber Heard in 2022, even after he won, left a mark that no legal victory could erase. Reputation, once untouchable, had been chipped away by the constant echo of headlines and social media judgment. Winning in court brought some justice, but it couldn't erase the years of public opinion, the whispered narratives, or the assumptions that had been made without ever knowing him. In Sussex, he found a life that allowed him to reclaim himself. Every corner of the estate, from the sunken gardens to the amphitheater, became a space to reset, to think, and to work in peace. Music, acting, and directing. All these outlets were no longer obligations or distractions. They were lifelines. Jean du Barry, his first major film since the turmoil, became a return on his own terms, a statement that his work, like his life, would be guided by choice rather than circumstance. Directing Modi in Budapest offered the same control, allowing him to shape a story from inside rather than respond to the outside world's demands. Family remained central. His children, Lily Rose and Jack, came into this chapter with the clarity of love that time and experience had forged. Their bond remained intact, untouched by tabloid narratives or public controversy. Walks through the gardens, quiet dinners, shared music sessions, they are moments measured not by attention, but by presence. The chaos of the past hadn't broken that connection. It had, instead, strengthened the focus on what truly matters. Romance, for now, is on hold. The whirlwind of the past has taught him caution, patience, and deliberate choice. The mistakes of history aren't ignored. They're remembered and used as guideposts. Every relationship is approached with care. Every connection weighed for meaning rather than urgency. The Sussex estate offers more than isolation. It provides clarity, a lens through which to view life with perspective rather than reaction. Even as the world peers from a distance, Depp's days are structured by autonomy. The gardens, amphitheater, and water features are not for display. They are extensions of his life philosophy, control, reflection, and freedom. Creativity is no longer performative. Music tours, film projects, and directing efforts are pursued for expression, not applause. Each project is a declaration of identity, a reclaiming of narrative lost to rumor and scandal. Every walk across the estate, every quiet hour spent in thought or creation, is a deliberate act of self-preservation. Sussex has become a sanctuary, a place where living intentionally replaces reacting to external pressures. Fame, scandal, and legal battles are distant echoes. Here, he measures life by peace, family, art, and the deliberate enjoyment of freedom. At 62, Johnny Depp has stepped out of the storm and into control. The mansion, the gardens, and the surrounding countryside are all symbols of a life rebuilt. Not a life hidden, not a life limited, but one defined by choice and by the knowledge that peace, once fought for, is the ultimate luxury. He moves through these years deliberately, with attention to the things that matter: creation, connection, and the rhythm of a life reclaimed. Sussex is not a retreat from the world. It is the world he chooses to live in, fully, deliberately, and on his own terms. What are your thoughts on the legal storm that happened between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.